with EnergyCAP. S.J. Bergman is also joining me as a panelist on this webinar. This webinar is for the SUNY systems. We are doing this per request from the SUNY Central folks asking us to provide a little bit of a refresher course on navigation in EnergyCAP, some bill entry information, some reports, and so on and so forth. So we've got a couple of things that we will look at. Thank you all for joining us. We certainly appreciate this time to spend with you. You may be new to EnergyCAP, or you may be just trying to refresh your memory on things that are within EnergyCAP, but we welcome you anyways. All right, so as I was saying, some of the things that we will look to do today, or topics that we'll look to cover, are going to be navigation in and around EnergyCAP, just to get you used to the look and feel of it, being able to know where you can move from one area of EnergyCAP to another. We'll talk about some bill entry. So we'll go through entry of a bill, mention some things that are there that you may be able to take advantage of to make your bill entry process a little bit quicker. We'll talk about some reports that are in EnergyCAP that are available for you folks. And we're also going to talk about two other things where we want to talk about the impact of the account active status, especially on the reporting information. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the bill lists that are available in EnergyCAP and some of the controls that you can use for those bill lists to customize them for individual users. We've got a little bit under an hour or so here. We're going to go through these topics. We're going to try and reserve some time at the end to field some questions from you folks. If you're just joining in, it is a webinar. We've got the default settings are for you folks to come in as muted. So unfortunately, I can't hear your questions, but if you would enter your questions into the questions area of the webinar, that will help SJ and I as we look to respond to those towards the end of the session. All right, so without further ado, let me start driving here and give you an idea of where we are and what we're doing. So this is EnergyCAP. To alleviate fears for the central staffers, Dan and Kathy and Mindy there, I am going to log into a training database. I'm not going into the actual SUNY database, so changes that I make here will not be showing up in your production database. So I wanted to make sure that we said that straight out at the very beginning, so I don't get a whole bunch of phone calls regarding that. So again, I'm going into a copy of your database that I set up here to be able to do this training. So we've got our username, password, our data source for you folks. That's primarily going to be SUNY_system, and especially when looking to answer your vendor bills. With this session, I'm going to record it. Some of the questions we'll work through and probably look to post an FAQ. EnergyCAP has set a site, website off of our site regarding the SUNY system. It is www.energycap.com/SUNY, and that would bring you into this page, and down towards the bottom right hand corner is where we have FAQs from previous trainings that we have done, and also recordings of previous trainings that we've done. So if you are new to the system and want to kind of catch up with some of those, this is available to you. So again, www.energycap.com/SUNY will get you to this page. And if you have difficulty with that, certainly reach out and contact either myself or contact Kathy, and we'll be able to get you there. All right, navigating back to EnergyCAP. So this is EnergyCAP Online. This is the browser version of EnergyCAP, which is what primarily everyone is using. So we're going to log in. And when I first come into EnergyCAP, I'm going to come into the home area of EnergyCAP. And this home area of EnergyCAP contains a dashboard. It's going to show me usage trends, cost trends. I've got top 10 building by cost, and I've got a getting started as the 4 widgets that I have established on my dashboard. So as you're logging in, you're going to come into the home area. And from here, there are additional widgets that you can put on the dashboard if you would desire to do so. So if the getting started is not something that you would be looking to keep an eye on, then you could look to change to your top 10 buildings by cost, or keep that in there. You may want to replace it with, let's say, top 10 meters by cost. So I would select the widget, point out an area that I would like, or which one of the 4 existing ones I'd like to replace. Click on the apply, and now I have updated my dashboard for myself as a user, and I can look at the 4 different screens or the high-level pieces of reporting in EnergyCAP that I want to have at my fingertips. Again, this is on my Home tab, and for navigation in EnergyCAP, we have a couple of different ways that we can look to do that. The first way is there is a menu bar available for us. So right up underneath the SUNY logo, we see that we've got Home, and then there's a big black triangle there to the left of Home. By clicking on that big black triangle, it expands out to give you the areas of EnergyCAP that you can then navigate to. So we've got Home, we've got our buildings and meters, groups and benchmarking, customers and chargebacks, accounts, vendors and rates, bill processing, reports. And this may vary depending on what your permission settings are. So several of you will have just Home, buildings and meters, groups and benchmarking, accounts, and bill processing. Or you may include vendors. Not all of you will see administration, but all of you should see reports there as well. So to get from one area of EnergyCAP to another, simply expand out the navigation bar, and let's say I want to go and take a look at accounts. So I will click on the accounts area. EnergyCAP will bring me over to the accounts area of EnergyCAP. My particular user has access to all of the campuses within the SUNY system. For your individual user, you may be looking at a particular university. So from here, I can navigate within a particular cost center, and what we've done is we've set up each individual university as a cost center in EnergyCAP. And if I want to get to where the purchase utility information is, then I would be looking for, let me pull this over a little bit further here. I would be looking for the cost center that indicates purchase utility accounts in the name, or looking for a code for the cost center that starts with PUA for purchase utility accounts. By clicking on that, I can see that the updates on the right-hand side for EnergyCAP in terms of the power views, get a summarization of the information within there. By clicking on the triangle to the left of it, expand out, and I can see the accounts that are for my campus. And these are purchase utility accounts, so they would be coming from my vendor. And these are the bills that I'm looking to track and provide in the SUNY system database. Okay. So that is one way to navigate from within EnergyCAP. Again, we've got the menu, so if I'm on accounts, if I go up, use the black triangle again, I can navigate down to reports. So I'll select reports, and that will bring me to the reports area of EnergyCAP. Again, clicking on the available things in here, we've got recommended reports. And so I can start here, see what the top 12 to 15 recommended reports are from EnergyCAP. And then I've got the full-blown list of reports within the All Reports category. Here, in terms of the billing reports, for EnergyCAP, we've got over 275 standard reports available. So it's a little overwhelming at first. Our recommendation is start with the recommended reports. By clicking on one of these particular reports, you get an idea of a description of what that report is going to provide you, and it also gives you a sample of what that report might look like. So that's a good way to kind of step through some of the individual EnergyCAP reports as you're trying to determine which one would fit your needs for that. Okay. So as I was saying, we've got the menu bar. This allows us to navigate around. I'm going to go back to accounts. And when I come back into accounts, EnergyCAP has remembered where I was for that. So that's usually a very handy thing. And one of the other navigation tips that I'm going to show you is regarding hyperlinks. So I'm going to drill down and click on one of these particular accounts. I'll choose on the NISO account here. So on my power view on the right-hand side, you'll notice that I'm on the summary power view. So it's summarizing the information for this account for me, 2015 year-to-date and going back to 2013 information. By clicking on the General tab, it gives me property information about that particular account. The code, the name associated with it, whether it is active, what the address is, and so on and so forth. But the reason why I was drilling in through here is to show you the hyperlinks that are available within EnergyCAP to use for navigation. You'll notice that for my meters, I have a meter associated with this account, and it is in blue and underlined. And where you see those blue and underlines in EnergyCAP, that is indicating a hyperlink. By clicking on this hyperlink, it's going to bring me to the meter that is within EnergyCAP. So by clicking on this link, I'm going to leave my accounts area, and it's going to bring me directly over to my buildings and meters view of the organization. And it's going to expand that buildings and meters view of the organization down to that meter that I am clicking on for my hyperlink. So let me go ahead and do that. We'll click on the hyperlink. You'll notice that my tree is changing. I'm now over in the buildings and meters tree. I am expanded within the buildings and meters tree to be within the purchased utilities. I'm within the Fredonia campus. So hopefully they don't mind that I'm picking on them a little bit today. Expanding out the Fredonia purchased utility information. And here's my main campus natural gas meter, or sorry, electric meter that was associated with the account. It brings me in. I have my power views available to me within EnergyCAP. Again, we come in with actual data, summary information, so I can review summarized information about this particular meter. If I want to look at trends, it's simple enough for me to click on the Power View, the Trends tab for the Power Views, and see how that information is changing. If I'm looking to go from buildings and meters, and I have a question and want to work my way back to the accounts area, if I know what the meter is that I'm working on, then I can click on the meter properties, and very similar to what I did off of the account properties, I can select the hyperlink to the account. So let's say I am going to pick the lowest, the fourth account off of this group, and click on that hyperlink, and that will bring me back over to the accounts area, and it will highlight the account and open up the account that I had selected off of there. So that's two methods that we have in terms of being able to navigate around in EnergyCAP. Again, we've got the menu bar, so we click on the triangle up here underneath the SUNY logo. The other method that we have is by using the hyperlinks, by coming to the General or the Properties tab and being able to use the hyperlinks that we see here embedded in EnergyCAP. Third way that we're able to navigate around is through the search. And the search is located in the top right-hand corner of EnergyCAP. It is below our home, our help, and so on, other navigational buttons that we can use. So if I click within this particular search box, it's going to be looking for accountant codes, it's going to be looking for building names or building codes, it's going to be looking for meter codes or meter names. So if I have partial information regarding a meter or an account, I can start typing that information into EnergyCAP. So if I start typing the first three digits, let's say of an account number, EnergyCAP will be looking for those first three characters that I've entered to look for matches to see what sort of meters am I able to match up with. So in this case, in the first portion here, it's matching up with about 20 or so meter codes. So we can click on one of these meters that is selected here if that's the meter that we're looking to do. We can click on the more that will expand it out to see if it is one of the other meters that we're looking for. In terms of places, we've got places that are being identified here. They all have the text value of 105 included in the code or the name. So at the moment, most of those are appearing in the code. And in addition to that, we've got a number of accounts that are being shown here with the 105 in their code and or their name. So if I can use that potentially as an address, and I can select off of the account here, and that would bring me to the account. So I'm going to say that at this case, we're going to select one of the meters. So I'm going to go off of the second meter off of the list. I'll click on the meter, and EnergyCAP will navigate to that particular meter. So it has expanded my buildings and meters tree, and it has brought me to that meter so that I can review information about it. I was on the meter properties previously, so that's what it brings me into now. I can click on the actual data tab. My trending information is here. I can look at summary information, and it's a quick way for me to get around. So again, in terms of going through and navigating in EnergyCAP, we do have the three methods. We have the menu bar so that you can select the area that you want to go to. We have the hyperlinks that are available when you're on a particular item. It's usually used between meters and accounts to be able to get from one view of your organization to the other view of the organization. And again, that is through the Properties tab for meters or the General tab for accounts to be able to get to the hyperlinks for it. The third way, again, as I was saying, is to use the search box up on the right-hand side. And 2801. So if I start typing in portion of my organization code, I can start to see buildings that are associated with it as well. So, or accounts that are associated with it, cost centers that are associated with it. So if I decide that I want to go and look at the building, then I can click on the place information, and that will bring me to that particular building. So those are the three ways to navigate around EnergyCAP. When doing bill entry in EnergyCAP, that is generally done within the bill processing area of EnergyCAP. The easiest way for me to get there is to use the navigation bar, drop down to bill processing, brings me into my enter bills. So if I'm looking to enter bills for today, then I'm here at my enter bills screen, and I can start entering information for that. It is also available off of the account. So if I'm on a particular account, I can go to the Bills tab. So here, let me do that and show you where that might be. But for the most part, even though we can come in from these other areas, the bill processing area is the area that is most likely going to be used by you folks, because you'll be entering several bills or many bills in a single period of time. So using the bill processing would be the most effective way to go through and enter that information. These couple of places that I'm going to show you are available for you to enter bills, but again, if you're entering multiple bills, the best way to do that is through bill processing. So the first place that I was talking about was through the accounts area. So I'll click on the accounts, and I'll stop picking on Fredonia, and I'll look to go over and start picking on Plattsburgh a little bit here. So I'm going to expand out. They've got electric bills. I'll go to their electric bills, choose one of their accounts. And if I go to the Bills tab for this electric account, I see that there is a green plus button. And this would allow me to add a bill into the system. It's the same as if I was adding the bill through the Enter Bills area of bill processing. It's just that I'm on the account itself. By clicking on that, it knows the account number, it pulls up my bill entry screen, and we've got our start date, end date, and so on and so forth. So we can go through and start entering information that way. I'm going to cancel out of here. The second way, or the second place that we can also add bills into EnergyCAP, is I'm going to use the navigation trick of using the hyperlink. So General tab, I'm going to hyperlink over to the meter itself. For this meter, under the actual data tab, I'm going to go to the bills tab of the Power Views, and this gives me the listing of the bills associated with it. And again, I've got my green plus button or add bill button here. I can click on the add bill button, and again, it will give me my bill entry screen for manual entry into EnergyCAP. For most of you folks entering information, you're going to be entering many accounts or several accounts at once. So again, the recommendation is to go through bill processing. I'll go down to bill processing. And we've got our enter bills. If you're manually entering bills, then you would use the button here for enter bills with the hand associated with it, so you're hand keying bills. If you're importing information, you would use the import bills button here, and this steps you through a wizard to import information for it. Excuse me, the majority of you folks are doing manual entry, so I'll click on the enter bills. It opens up a bill entry screen, and the first thing that's going to happen is it's going to be asking you what account number do you want to enter a bill for. So if I start entering the first several digits of an account number, it's going to look or do a search. It's going to indicate what accounts start with 180 or have 180 in them. If I continue to enter more of the account number, then it's going to refine the search down to the particular account that I'm looking for. If you're a very quick typer, and I admit that I am not, then you could type the entire account code in, hit the enter key, and that would bring up your bill entry screen for that particular account. In this case, I'm going to choose the first account code off of the list. And when we start in EnergyCAP, our start date defaults to be the end date of the previous bill in the system. If that's matching up with the bill that I have in my hand, then I can certainly use that. Using the tab key or using the mouse, I can navigate through. The EnergyCAP bill entry screen is set up to be able to have you use the keyboard. That way you don't have to take your hand off of it to move to the mouse and back and forth. The goal behind this is to use either the tab or the enter key. That will help you advance through the fields that are available for you. So initially we're on the start date. We've got the end date available. If I have the paper copy of the bill in front of me and I'm looking to enter that information, I can enter my start date. So let's say it is actually, instead of 121, I'm going to say it was actually 1/28/15. I can enter the 1, the slash, the 28, the 15, tab past that, and it will tell me, EnergyCAP will do a quick calculation for the number of days and based off of the end date that I entered. If your bill is telling you how many days are in the period, instead of entering the end date, either keying it in or using the control to the right here to select, and tabbing past that will update the number of days in the bill. Again, if the number of days is indicated, let's say it's a 32-day bill, I can type in 32 days in the days field. If I tab past that, it's going to update my end date to set that to be 32 days past my start date. Pay amount information is generally the current amount that is due for this particular bill. So I'll enter a value here, and yes, I'm just making this up as I go through for the training purposes. You should enter the value that's being shown on your bill. Again, I'm going to use the tab key to go past this. If I have an estimated bill, or it's indicated that it's estimated, then clicking on the space bar would allow me to set this estimated flag. Billing period is set by EnergyCAP. It looks at the majority of days in your service period, which are the start date and end date. So this bill has most of its consumption happening during the month of January, so it defaults this to being our billing period of January in 2015. It is possible for you to edit this information if you need to, but primarily the settings for the billing period are going off of your start and end dates, and EnergyCAP does a really good job with determining what that billing period should be. So I'll tab through there for a due date. If the due date is indicated on the bill, Again, I can type that information in. Let's say it was due on the 25th. Invoice number, if I'm tracking invoice numbers, I can put that information in. Control code, I can type that information in as well. Accounting period information, I can enter that information as I go through and do that. And again, my advancement through these fields is going through the tab key to allow me to go through that. For my usage in kilowatt hours, I'll enter a value. Tab key, what is my customer charge? Let's say it's $15. My energy charge rate class 2, and I'm just filling in the information. These templates should match up fairly well with the bills that you have that you're manually entering. That was the goal behind it, and we did a lot of custom templates to allow you to do that. If you're finding that there are items not on there, if they're not account level charges, certainly get in touch with ourselves or with Kathy, and we'll look to review that information and possibly create or update templates that are available to you. Energy charge, rate class 2. Okay, so I'm going to fill in a value here for some money. Let's say it is $759 for our charge here. Let's make that $2,500. IEP efficiency charge, well, let's see, we'll do that as $2,000. And as I go through and enter this information, what's happening is that EnergyCAP is looking at the charges that I'm entering in here, and it's subtracting those from the pay amount indicated on the bill to give me an idea what the balance is for my bill. Excuse me. EnergyCAP is looking to save a zero balance bill. So it's going to want all of the charges to be allocated to the charges on the bill. So as I go through and enter or tab to the next field, I see that I end up with a balance down here. If I go to save an audit, it's going to come back and say, you've got a remaining balance here. What do you want to do with that? If this is for a late payment charge, or if this is due to taxes or an account level charge, then we can select those from our list of special charges to be able to apply that information. So I will click on the Save and Audit. It should pop up to say I've got a remaining balance. Where do I want to apply that? I'm going to say that it's an adjustment charge. I'll say OK. And what EnergyCAP has done is it applied that information to the adjustment charge, and it is going through and doing an audit. So we've got a quick check audit set up. And let's see, oh, look at this. If my billing date is later than today, my cost per day is greater than the same month. Let's see, what other audits do I have here? Use per day is greater than the same month. Okay, so at this point, EnergyCAP is saying, you know, the bill entry on this doesn't look so good. And this is usually what I hear from clients when I'm trying to do their bill entry. So I'm not surprised that we're getting these audit messages. If you're getting these audit messages, you have the option to say OK, and that allows you to just proceed with your entry. Or you can click on the Edit button, and that will bring you back into your bill. And EnergyCAP will start showing you what areas of the bill to kind of focus in on based upon the audit messages. So my bill end date is later than today. Okay, well then let me make sure that that is the case for this particular bill. If not, then I will go back through and I will enter the correct end date for it. Cost per day, use per day information. Verify the information here is matching up with the bill copy that I have. And if I've done all of that and everything looks good, then again I'll go through my Save and Audit. And if I verify the information, I'll click on OK. I'll give the screen a moment here to refresh. I can start typing in the first several digits of my next account number. Once it gets its focus back. All right, focus doesn't seem to be coming back to me. I'm going to cancel here at the moment. And I'll click on Enter Bills. And now I can start entering first several digits of the next account number, select that account code, and I can work my way from there. So that is a quick run through for EnergyCAP for the bill entry, manual bill entry side of things. Again, some shortcuts or some things to try and improve your efficiency or how quickly you can get bills into the system. For your end dates, you can type in the dates, or you can use the date picker. That's fine. If you know the number of days, you can enter that and tab past it. That will update your end date for you. Excuse me. Using the tab and enter key will advance you through the fields being shown on your bill entry screen. And on your save and audit, as it comes back and provides that information. Definitely, if you're getting some audit messages, certainly click on edit to go back and review that the information that is going in is correct for it. So that gives you some tips and tricks for going through and doing bill entry. I'm going to cancel out of this one and come back into EnergyCAP itself. So I have a bill in the system here for me. So things that we've looked at already, we've talked about navigation in EnergyCAP. We've talked about bill entry in EnergyCAP. We're going to take a look at a couple of reports in EnergyCAP, and then we're going to get back to looking at the impact of the account status and also bill lists. Just kind of a precursor to what we're talking about here. In my bill processing area, the power view that's being shown over here on the right-hand side is a bill list. We can see that I've got my bill list section here that is available to us, and we provide you with a default. We're going to come back to this in a couple of minutes and talk more about this and what we can do to customize this for my individual user. So a couple of reports. So I'm going to navigate down to the report area in EnergyCAP. Again, we've got the recommended reports that are available to us, reports that we can look to do. There is an AM07 place summary report. This one works out well for folks that are on the campuses that are looking at their campus level by commodity. They want to see what their electric use and cost are. They want to see what their natural gas use and cost are. Other ones that are associated with that. So for my place summary, let me continue through, and let's see, this particular one has information already associated with it. I can see that by the filters already being in place. So we've got filter up here saying account active, status is equal to yes. So when we run this report, it's going to pull information for all active accounts. We're talking with Kathy in the main office a little bit. We're starting to see where some of the accounts are no longer active, so we're setting them to be inactive accounts. So the impact of that status is that if we leave that report filter to being equal to yes, or only pulling out active report or active account information, then when we're running this for historical periods of time, we may be excluding inadvertently the inactive accounts. So that's where that is going to come into play. Now, this bill account is active filter is a default for the vast majority of the EnergyCAP reports. So it does appear up in our current filters list. So as you're going through and doing your reports, just double check to be sure, or see that what the setting is for it, and see if that makes sense for the information that you're looking to do. Bill is from a vendor, that makes sense. You're entering vendor information in here. We're excluding voided bills, so anything that we voided, we want to do away with that. For our billing periods, we can choose either a between to give a range of time frames, or we can use a billing period year as they have in this case. I'm going to switch this one up. Let's see, billing period year. I am going to change this. We're going to do a greater than equal. And let's do 2013, and we'll do a save on that. For a commodity code, I'm going to open this one up. So rather than reporting on a specific commodity, I'm going to change this filter to be able to report on all commodities for it. So for that value, let's go through. I'm going to clear that particular filter, and by doing so, it removes it from my current filters list and moves it down into additional filters down below here. And this opens it up so it's going to run for all commodities. For my place name, in this case they have it specifically targeting a particular place. Again, I'm going to clear this one as well. For my topmost place code, I do want that to be within purchase utilities. I can drill into that a little bit more to have it be for my particular campus. So let's see, if I do topmost place code equals, place that 28, let's do by doing so, entering the values here, I get a drop down to be able to see the individual buildings, and that is not exactly what I was looking for. All right, so let me do this. Let me clear that. And let me do topmost place name. And let me do Plattsburgh purchase utilities. And I'll save that filter. And when I've saved this, I can run my report. Ah, lovely. That doesn't work so well. All right, well, we'll be investigating that moving forward. I am aware that we came across a reporting bug a little earlier today, so we're trying to resolve that. And as it would expect, it would appear in our webinar, of course. So AN07, when it's up and running, is a recommended report to go through and run. Other reports that we suggest that would make sense for you folks, let's see, executive summary by commodity. That is a similar report, again, breaking out your consumption and cost information on commodity, and you can filter that by cost center so that you can filter it by the campus to be able to run and look at that information. 5-year cost comparison. We'll go through, and for buildings and for your campus, you can look at what your consumption has been, or in this case cost has been over the last 5 years, and get an idea of what the changes have been within the last 2 years of entry to see whether your costs are higher or lower than the previous year. This is looking at actual data. It's not doing any adjustments. It's just raw. Are my costs up or down for this particular report? So that's another potential report for you folks to be able to run. Again, the YY10, AN07 is a good one. The BL12 is a good one to run as well. Let's see, another one that comes to mind for me as well under the billing reports is the BL10, which is very similar to the executive summary by commodity, but you can filter this down to the cost center, so you can kind of focus in on a particular cost center for it. So there are some reports that you can start with if you're not familiar with the reports, or if you are familiar with the reports and have other recommendations, we'd love to hear about what your recommendations are for those as well. Okay. And again, the main point to talk about is when running reports on historical information. For example, if I come in here, my bill account is active. This particular filter, I can set it to be yes, no, or I can clear it. If I clear it, then it will not matter if the account is or is not active. To be able to see whether the account is active or is not active, I'm going to navigate over here, go to my accounts area, and I would find that within my account properties. I can look to edit that particular account, and there's the status associated with it, active versus inactive. Okay. All right. So that brings us down to a couple of other topics here. So we talked a little bit about the impact of the account active. Bill lists. Let's spend a couple of moments to talk about that, and I'm going to try and reserve the last 10 minutes or so that we have in our webinar to be able to field some questions. I do see some questions that are coming in, so that's great. For bill lists, there are several areas where you find bill lists. So for example, I'm in here now looking at accounts. So I'm going to click on a particular account. For my Power View, I see bills. So there are my bills. The default view for me is going through and showing my billing period, my begin date, end date, total cost information, cost per day, and so on. So that information is available to me. On the top right corner, I have a couple of buttons here that allow me to change up how I am viewing my bill list. And this will impact my Power Views, my bills Power View for the accounts. I can set it here, my bills Power View for my meters, or I can set a particular bill view for all of my bills. So let me show you how to do that. I'm going to navigate down back into the bill processing area, and we'll talk a little bit about the default bill lists. So if I go to my default bill list, there are filters that are associated with this. And in this case, it looks like someone was going through and reviewing some batch information that was entered by someone in the organization. So that's why they have this particular filter setting on it. The filter settings are run off of the funnel list, or the funnel button that's over here on the right-hand side, filter list. I can click on that and I can see what my batch code is, and I can see what additional filters I can apply to this. So I'm going to actually take my batch code and I'm going to clear that. I'm going to bring it from my current filters, click on it once, bring it back to the middle, we'll clear. My bill list is going to update. I have unfiltered, so we've got a large number of bills in the system, so I do want to start focusing in on bills to try and manage the list a little bit better here. So let's see, I am going to apply a filter here where I'm going to do a bill entry date, and I'm going to do a greater than equal, and I'm going to back this up. I'm going to look for bills that have been entered into the system somewhere just prior to the holiday break. So I'll click on save. That should, uh-oh, that's not looking so good. No bills. All right, let's clear that one and try this again here. Cost center code. There we go. Now click on save. I should come up with bills for that. Excellent. Okay. So now I've got a filter set on that. You can see my filter settings are applied up here. There are many filters that I can apply here. And it would be the same process. Select them from the additional filter, enter a value, it becomes a current filter. Clicking on the filter list button here again will collapse what was up in the top and allow me to see more of the billing information down below. So I've got that information available to me. With this bill list, I can look to create my own. So if I go over to my bill list, I can click on it. I can add a bill list, and this is, let's say, John bill list. I can either create a new or I can copy and modify. Copying and modifying is probably the easiest way to go about that. I'll select the default, save, and now I have that. You can see it updates here. I've got my own bill list, so I will go back in to here. And now I've got the bills that I had previously selected because it remembered the filter that I had. With the columns that are being shown here, my account code, my billing period, my start date, and so on, I can move these columns around just by clicking on it and dragging. So if I want to pull my total cost information to the left, then I click and I drag and I drop it, and it updates my bill list. So that's a quick way to be able to change the order of the columns that I see appearing on the screen here. The button, that's the third one over from the left, is Add Remove Columns. Excuse me. This allows me to say what information do I want to include in the columns for my bill list. By clicking on this, it opens up, gives me columns that are available to either remove or to add to the bill list that I have below. Let's see. So for example, if I want to show whether the bill is void or not, I can click on the void, and let's see, I can look at whether the bill is estimated. So by checking those two boxes, when I click on the Apply Changes, it's going to add those two columns to my bill list that is available to me. Click on Apply Changes, and I can collapse this down again. And if I move my view to the right, I can see I've got estimated and now void as well. So that information is available to me. I can configure my bill list. If it contains the information that I'm looking at and it's in the order that I like, then the other button that I have here available to me is to export the list to Excel. So by clicking on this particular list, it's going to ask, do I want to export all of the bills to Excel? I can say yes. Open that file. And there is a quick way for me to export information from EnergyCAP into Excel to be able to do further analysis on it. I'll minimize that and come back into bill lists. So there are controls associated with the bill lists. Refresh the data, filter the list, being able to add or remove columns to the list, and the export the list to Excel. Again, it's a quick way to be able to export some information for further analysis to Excel. These bill lists are by individual user, so when it says My Bill Lists, even if you have 3 or 4 users in your portion at your campus, everyone may have a different way of looking at bills, a different method for their bill list. So it gives you the flexibility to be able to do that and review that information and be able to focus in on the things that you really want to focus in on. So folks, we've covered a lot of ground here over the past 45 minutes to 50 minutes of the webinar. Just to recap for that navigation, we've got the search up in the top right corner. We've got the bill processing, or to be able to use the navigation bar itself, or using hyperlinks to be able to get from one area to another. So we've got that going on for us. Bill entry primarily is done through the Enter Bills area of EnergyCAP. Enter the information there because you're entering several bills at once. We talked about the account active status, how that impacts the reports, whether the information is going to be included or not. And last but not least, we kind of finished up with taking a look at bill lists and how we can add columns to it. And I didn't actually talk about some sorting, but you can sort by doing, let's say, by clicking on it, you can sort that particular by cost. So in this case, I've got it by increasing cost. If I click on the column header again, it will reverse it, so I can look at the most expensive bill for this particular account, or for all of the accounts in this bill list, and it will reorder it for me. Looks like several of you have entered questions. So at this time, SU and I are going to start taking a look at some of these questions and look to respond to that. Let's see, we've got a question coming in regarding greenhouse gas inventory information.
Well, we could have a whole separate webinar on that.
Certainly could. So for the greenhouse gas inventory information in EnergyCAP, one of the tabs that is available to us off of buildings and meters, as soon as I get to that period of time, there we go, is greenhouse gas information. We are bringing in the greenhouse gas emissions factors. This is based off of the consumption information that's being entered by the bills. being calculated against that factor to give you an idea of what the greenhouse impact is for those vendor-related bills that you have for that.
And we have a variety of reports that you can run that will give you compiled information for your campus.
All right. So good question on that. Enter an adjustment or a canceled charge from a prior month. Oh, that's a very good question. So it sounds like you may have received a rebill from your utility. By going into that particular account and pulling up the bill, trying to think through here. For you folks, at the moment, we're not interfacing through to accounts payable information because that changes some things, because then all kinds of business rules come into play, and it really becomes dependent upon how your organization handles that information. So let's see, we've got an adjustment or a canceled charge from a prior month coming in. So if I select a prior month's bill, I can click on the row that contains it. It expands out my row, provides me with the ability to edit that bill through the pencil button. So I'll click on the edit the bill. And this opens it in edit mode. If it's a consumption information, I can update that information. If I need to update my pay amount, I can update the pay amounts. And I can update the charges associated with it. When I'm done with those types of changes, I can do a save and audit, and that would save the bill. If you're looking to indicate, maybe the best way to do it, to be able to raise the visibility with it, if it's just a change in charges, let's see if I can do my math here. Let's make this $89. Okay, so I have a $40 balance. Let's say that was an additional charge that came through. Then I would look to apply a special charge. Say it's an adjustment. That puts that special charge on the bill. And in addition to that, I can look to add a bill note here as well and indicate that the $40 charge on the January 2015 bill. And that way it raises some visibility about where that particular charge came through. So a very good question on that. Appreciate that. Let's see, several other questions that are coming in. Let's see, when and how do you void a bill? What if the natural gas delivery commodity on the same bill, but you want to void just the commodity? So Allie, you've got a number of challenging billing situations. I see that you're working your way through. So in terms of voiding a bill, the clients that primarily do the voiding of bills are ones that are passing information over to their accounts payable system. So they want to maintain that they have received a bill from the utility initially, and that it was being replaced by a rebill that has come through subsequently. But we can still apply that here for SUNY. Let's say, okay, so natural gas and delivery, commodity are on the same bill, void just the commodity portion.
Just zero those out.
You can zero that out. My other thought would be to void the existing bill and then enter a bill for the same period of time that would contain just the delivery portion of the bill, and if there were edits or changes to the commodity portion of the bill, put those changes in. And that way you would have the record of the original one, and then you would have the replacement bill for it. So, in terms of voiding a bill in EnergyCAP, you can select a bill off of the bill list. You have to go into the edit portion of it, and it would be through the bill actions. And I would apply void bill. Say yes, I would like to void it. My status up here goes to void. Give it a moment here to save an audit. And now I see that my void flag has been changed to indicate that this particular bill has been voided in the system for me.
And just so you know, you can always unvoid a bill too.
Yes. You actually follow the same process because it's a toggle for that. Let's see. Run a report that shows an executive summary, few choice buildings together. So I know how much energy I've used, how much I've spent, what the average rate was. Okay. Sadie, good question. Let's see. For each month for the entire year. All right. Okay. Few choice buildings. One of the ways that we can look at a few of those buildings together.
Well, is there building level information though?
Yeah, that is the bigger question as to whether there is building level information associated with it. If there were east, west, and south campuses, then we could certainly put those campuses together. Sadie, we may want to contact you directly to kind of talk our way through this and look and see what the information is associated with your campus. The two things that initially come to me regarding this would be if I am running a report, let's say I'm going to go and run the cost center, the BL10, the cost center summary by commodity, or actually I would probably run the AN07.
Yeah.
So let me do the place summary, AN07. I will continue through here. For my buildings, what I would look to do is I would look to select either the place code or the place name. So I'm going to choose place code, and for equals I'm going to change this up and I'm going to make it to be a one of, and that allows me to enter information, and I can select from the list and control click on it and add it, and when I save this filter, it's going to run this report for the 2 selected buildings that I had. If there are 3 or 4 selected buildings, I can do one of for those 4 selected buildings, and that sets my filter and pulls that information for it. The second method that might be a possibility would be to create a group, a building group, and then instead of using place code one of, I would use my place group code or place group name and set it equal to that group name. Okay. All right, let's see. A couple of the questions have come through. I realize that we're towards the end of our time. It looks like we've got 2 additional questions that we'll look to answer here. And as I said, we'll probably look to post the FAQ document out with these questions to have you folks be able to review that information for it. How can you upload and add a bill image to a bill entry?
We have a document that describes exactly how to do that, and we should probably post that along with this webinar. And
that's true.
I'll follow up with you, Al, and make sure that we go over how to do that for you. And just so everyone knows, there is, in EnergyCAP, when you enter a bill, you can link your scanned bill image to that bill. So when you open up the bill file, you can see the bill image that's associated with that. So that's a pretty useful item.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have one of those? Do you know of one you can show?
Do I know of one that I can show? No, at this moment. But what I can do is show where we generally contain that information. Our control code in the bill header is used to indicate the bill image file name associated with it. So we would enter that file name in here, and using that information along with some setup information, it provides the path and the link between this bill entry screen in EnergyCAP with the bill image that has been uploaded into the system. So that is the way to be able to do that. The loading of the bill images is a separate area. It's outside of EnergyCAP application itself. But as SJ said, there's a document, a help document regarding that, and it's actually included in the knowledge transfer document as well that steps through that process. So we can provide that for you.
And last question.
Last question. Is there a way to see 2010 baseline year information in summary charts? At this point, the answer is no, because for the summary power views, those are set to be showing the current year and the previous 3 years. So at this point, we've kind of moved beyond the 2010 information to see that information there. Let's see. Trying to think if there's a way.
Target line.
Oh, possibility. Put it in as a target, or let's see what else we might be able to do off of there. General power view, what was I thinking of? Oh, looking in the wrong place, of course. Potentially within buildings and meters. For that particular meter, we do have the normalized data, and that is summarized monthly, and it's compared to 2010 information, so we do have that as a possibility to show how you're relating back to your 2010 information. As SJ was indicating, there's a good chance to be able to use the target line. The target line would be something that the SUNY Central folks would end up needing to set through the administration area. And looking to see, it is not turned on at this point. So something that we'll get to Kathy about. What will end up happening is that by turning on a target line, that will appear on your summary power views as a line going across to give you an idea of what that 2010 information was. So very good question. Gives us some follow-up for us to do. Let's see. And Kathy had a quick suggestion regarding...
Oh, we're not looking at training. We're looking at the training.
Oh, yeah. We are looking at the training database. But if she's looking at September 2014, we might have a chance at it. All right, hold on a sec. Let's see if we can show Al an image. Let's see, new pulse. And let's see if I can get to the bill here and who it's by. Working my way there, Kathy.
589968.
Ah. I should look for main campus.
And
September 2014. There we go. Looking at the bill itself, in edit mode, we can see that the control code is entered in for that. And in addition to that, now my View Scanned Image button becomes available for me. By clicking on that, it will show me the bill image associated with that particular bill. So there is the linking between those two.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thanks, Kathy. Appreciate it. All right. Well, folks, I see that we're a couple of minutes over our time. I appreciate your attendance. Certainly the questions that you've sent in to us, they're great. If any additional questions come up, feel free to send myself and SJ an email, contact Kathy, contact our tech support, and we'll do what we can to get you folks up and running and answer your questions so that you're able to use EnergyCAP effectively. So again, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. I'm going to look to close out the webinar, and we will talk to you folks soon. Take care.